Hello and welcome. In this video I'm going to show you how to create revisions to quotes and copies of quotes within 360. So let's start by going to our quotes section here. If you're not already there, just select your quotes link, the navigation, and that will call up your list page or dashboard. And I'm going to start out by creating a revision. As we proceed, I'll explain how the two things are different. Revisions and quotes are created in the same way, but they serve different functions within the system. So let's start with a revision. In this case, let's look at my job. This is Rewire Living Room, and we're going to do a revision first. A revision is going to be when you've already quoted something to a customer and they request a variation on the same body of work. So maybe it's a different pricing option, maybe it's a different finish, but it's the same job that you're bidding on. It's just a variation of it. So let's go over here, select my pull down, and let's select create revision. Pretty much a one-step procedure. What I've done now here is kind of made a carbon copy of my existing. Notice that my job is still the same, but I have Rev 1 or revision 1 after it. And so now let's say that the customer has asked that I quote the same job but add an upgrade to it. So I'm going to go to my job item and let's say lighting upgrade. And that's going to change let's put some material costs in there and maybe a couple hours additional labor. Remember to select your total here to correct it. Save it. And now I've created a revision. From here I'm free to go ahead and email that to the customer or to send it in any fashion that I want to, in the same way that I send all other quotes. So let's see how this factors into the equation when I go back to my quotes dashboard. All right, you can see as I go through here and I go down my list page, you can see my markers here, my little pen icon. This indicates that for this quote there is one or more revision included. So I could have, what I'm displaying here is my most current. There's the price. And then this link is going to allow me to see the original quote that came with this. So I could have 4, 5, or 6 different versions in here, and the customer can select which one at any given time. But I'm keeping them organized and together in one place here. Now the other thing that a revision does is it keeps your sales projections accurate. Now if I were to just create multiple quotes for multiple instances of this quote, you can imagine this total would start to add up, and when I do a value of my active quotes, it's going to give me an unrealistic figure. So what 360 does is it takes the most current version and factors that into sales projections and lets the other one sit. Now at any given time, if I choose the other as the default, then that value will factor into my sales projections as well. So the difference between a revision and a quote, or in a copy rather, I'm going to show you here. The steps again are the same, but when I create a copy of a quote, just to repeat the steps here, in this case I would select copy, and what that's going to do is copy the entire folder here under a new title. Now where I would use a copy instead of a revision is, let's say that I do a large job and a year later a similar job comes up, maybe a different customer, different location, different job site, but a lot of the work that would go into building that quote has already been done. I can go back to that quote and simply, like I did, create a copy. Now what will happen then is that it will create an entirely new quote folder here. So you won't see it underneath a pen. You won't see it nestled in with any other existing quotes. It becomes its own thing. And what I can do then is change my customer name, change anything that I want. So when you copy a quote, you're basically creating a blank canvas so that you don't have to start from scratch on a new quote. Same thing applies to jobs, and we'll show you that when we go through the job section of 360. But that's a little bit about how to create a revision and how to create a copy for any given quote. Thanks.